All right, well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and you are here to witness the 2020 Volvo XC40. This is actually a press car that I got for a week. I actually already filmed a review on it, but I feel like if you're serious about this vehicle and you're actually looking at it to buy it, I'm going to cover a couple of things that I didn't actually cover in that review. So that's kind of why I do these types of videos at the end here after I've done the review, to cover a few things that a few observations anyway that I found about the vehicle. But as a whole though, if you just want to know my opinion on this thing, I really like it. I actually really like what Volvo is doing here. When you look at this thing and you look at what Volvo is kind of doing here, there's actually nothing like BMW, Audi, or Mercedes like about this. This is very unique to its own. Like, it's very much like a Volvo actually. I like how they're trying to kind of create their own little image or persona to them, I guess. And if slowly but surely, I think they're starting to do that pretty well actually. This is a car that I really enjoyed owning for like the last couple of days now. It has been a very rewarding driving experience, and that is actually going to be one of the first things that we're going to be talking about. So the way that this thing drives, that is actually one of the things that I really appreciated about Volvo, because when I got this vehicle at first, I was very curious about what this thing would be like to drive, because, a long time ago, Volvo was known for being that super safe car. That's what like Swedish cars were pretty much known for. But nowadays, every car is safe. So I was just like, what is this thing really going to be like? And I'm proud to say it has been a great just city kind of just touring type car. It has done a great job of just being a rewarding vehicle that you can own for a long time. Like, you can lease this and be super happy with it. Everything about it has like this nice lightness to it. It requires no effort. It's like a non-fatiguing experience to pilot this thing on a day-to-day basis. Like, steering's light, the overall car just feels super light. The engine in this particular Inscription, this is like a pretty fully loaded one. To be fair, it's about like $47,000. I did spec one out myself, and it came out to be around $40,000 with all the nice things that you might want with this engine, with the all-wheel drive and a few nice little options like this Harman Kardon, but we'll get to that. Yeah, but this engine, though, with a 248 horsepower, I believe, and 258 pound-feet of torque, it is definitely effortless for this vehicle. It is definitely very rewarding. I love how they actually implemented some legitimate, like, turbo spooling sounds and, like, some blow-off valves. It's actually pretty cool to listen to this thing. And those are, like, the small little things that it really adds up when you drive it. It just becomes that much more fun and engaging feeling. The brakes pretty much like work on a dime with this vehicle. You have a lot of confidence in the braking and the stopping power of this, because it's like the way that they kind of tune the brakes. It's like boosted up, so it gives you all the bite like right up front, so you can easily stop this car. Great for like teenagers or like older gents or ladies who, So there's that, and this car is so comfortable and so quiet. I love that. These seats really help out with that, but like overall, just like this vehicle rides pretty well, even with these 19-inch wheels wrapped in 235 wide tires actually. So it actually has some pretty good grip to it as well. It's a really isolated cabin. Like, there's not a lot of wind noise or tire noise. Even at the highway speeds, it is actually really quiet in here, and I've really enjoyed that about this vehicle. But one thing that I'm not a huge fan of, that I actually found while I was driving this vehicle, the gas mileage really isn't that great. And that's not uncommon for a turbocharged engine. The other engine on option is actually the same engine, but it's just like detuned. It makes like 180 horsepower, like 220 pounds-feet of torque. I haven't tried that motor, but I really like this motor. This is just really nice. It really just aids in the characteristic of being an easy car with like easy kind of passing power. So I just really enjoy this motor. But I'm getting about 19 mpg, like 19 and a half mpg, which isn't stellar. I would like to see something like 22, 23 in the city. Certain turbocharged cars actually do get good gas mileage. Like I noticed like the Hyundai Kia 1.6 liters get good gas mileage. Actually, I have a BMW 440i with the 3-liter inline 6 single turbo, and I'm getting like 22, 23 mpg in the city. So I don't know what's up with this particular turbocharged motor. Again, it's not super uncommon. There's only a few turbocharged vehicles that actually do get good gas mileage. But just something to note, if you're looking at this 4-cylinder and you're thinking, oh, it's going to be a great fuel sipper, it's honestly, it's not. Now, one of the other things I really like about this vehicle is just the plethora of space that this vehicle offers. This is actually the smallest kind of SUV that Volvo kind of offers in their lineup, and dude, I am not lusting for more space in here. That's something I really appreciated with this vehicle. I'm about 5'11", and this seat is actually set to my driving position, and there's a lot of toe room underneath, which really helps. And I just have a great amount of space. Again, the seats are super comfortable in this vehicle, both in the front and the rear. Very plush, very supple seats, so I do really enjoy that. And the trunk has a stupendous amount of space as well. And the other thing is that I really like is when the lift gate is actually all the way opened up. I actually don't like brush my head or hit my head up against the lift gate, which is actually an issue I had with the Mazda CX-9, surprisingly enough, which is a huge SUV. And I was like, you know, kind of close to bumping my head on that lift gate, which this, I don't have an issue with that, and there's plenty of storage space back there. It's only like 176 inches long, this like entire vehicle, and the trunk space is good. There's actually a little bit of space underneath the trunk if you open that, and there's actually a spare tire underneath that. Those are some great things I always like to see. But yeah, dude, for just like the overall length of it, I love just the interior space as well as the trunk space. That's also a great thing. And you have this panoramic sunroof in this particular model, and it does give it kind of like that open air type of feel if you like that. Now, I talked about the seats a little bit. One of the things that I don't like is actually the front seats anyway, because that's what usually got the most use in this vehicle because it is a press car. It has about 4,500 miles on it, and it is definitely starting to wrinkle up a little bit. So that's one of the few little problems I found with this leather that they're using. It is super comfortable. It does look really good actually, but I have noticed, I do feel like this is going to wrinkle a lot over time. It's just something I noticed. Again, it's not like a huge deal, but it's just something to note, I guess. But since we're inside, let's just talk about that interior real quick. I love the layout in this thing. You know, I mentioned before in the beginning, like this is a very unique vehicle. It's very much like its own little thing, like what Volvo is doing. And it's true. It translates not only in the exterior, but also into the interior as well. This is nothing like any of the other vehicles. This is totally different from an Audi or a BMW or a Benz. There's been countless times where I get into vehicles and I get like these vibes from like, you know, either like Japanese or like Korean cars. And I'm like, dude, this actually feels very German to me. But this doesn't. I mean, this is a Swedish car, obviously. Well, it's owned by different, you know, owners, but it's supposed to be a Swedish car, and it's got a totally different look and feel compared to the competition. The choice of materials, the design, all of it is really cool and very nice. It has like a very modern look to it, like both inside out. It's a very cool thing. I do appreciate it a lot. It's almost like a fashion statement, if you will. You know, it's got great little touches like that gear knob. It's like that crystallized thing going on, right? I do really enjoy that. And it kind of lights up at night too, which is really cool. There's like this carpeting all around in the door panel. It's like an 80s thing, I guess, that they're trying to bring back. I don't know, it's very cool though. I do like it. So it's got like different little materials and stuff. Again, this is the cheapest or like the smallest vehicle in Volvo's lineup as far as SUVs go. So like the materials, I mean, like the solidity of it. So like when you touch some of the buttons and stuff, it's not quite as like, you know, the tactile feel isn't as good as something like an Audi, you know what I'm saying? Like some of the knobs and buttons and stuff like that feels a little bit cheaper. There's a bit of like, you know, this kind of light colored white plastic, like this harder plastic going all around the cabin. But again, though, it never bothered me. It was just some things I noted. I mean, like as a whole though, this cabin is a nice solid area actually. There's really no creaks and rattles I noticed with this vehicle. You know, those are just little things I just pointed out there. As a whole, I really enjoyed myself inside of this cabin. And let's just start this bad boy up. It is actually quite a technological cabin as well. Of course, you have every single safety feature. I mean, that's kind of what Volvo has always been known for, you know, like their safety essentially. So, of course, it's like loaded to the brim with all that. Now, it does do some smart things. Like, I do really like how when you have some music playing and you actually mute the volume, like you turn the volume off all the way, it'll actually pause your music. Like the music won't continue to keep playing. It'll actually just stay paused, and then when you turn the volume back up again, the music will just start playing. So I like the cool little features like that. I really appreciate it. But now that gets me to another little negative point about this vehicle. The infotainment, the gauge cluster, the tech in general actually. You know, yes, it does do some smart things. And as a whole, like when you look at it, you're like, yes, like there is some legitimate thought to this cabin and like this vehicle as a whole, but there is some stupidity that I found with this vehicle as well. Like, dude, all the climate control stuff is totally integrated with this screen. All your seat heater controls, your steering wheel heating controls, all that stuff is buried inside this screen. You have to take your eyes off of the road. It's very distracting. I don't like the way that it's implemented with this. You know, it's just, I don't like it when they do that, when car manufacturers do that. I mean, this is like the seat heaters and the steering wheel buttons are so small, and you need to like be absolutely looking at it to have access to it. So it's just, I wish there was physical buttons for everyday use stuff like that. And they did give you physical buttons, like 5 here, but you know, your window defrosters, you know, they give you hard physical buttons for that. So clearly they know that that's important. So they actually give you physical buttons so you can easily access it. I wish they would do the same thing with the rest of the climate control, because those are all pretty, like, you know, useful functions that you need. As a whole though, like the screen, yeah, it does work pretty good. There's some occasional lag with it, but I do appreciate the overall kind of simplicity to it. You know, you can go into the settings menu and there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can tweak and mess with. But as a whole though, I mean, the screens, they do look pretty good in this vehicle. There's like a clarity and like a quality to the screens that is superior to some, you know, cheaper vehicles, I guess. Now the gauges is another little enigma to me. I don't really understand the gauges. I have been playing with these buttons and I feel like there's more to this screen because this entire gauge cluster is all digital, but I can't really access every little facet of this. I actually still to this day don't really know how to use it properly. You can change the look of it, you know, you can make it red and make it look all sporty and stuff, but those are just my little complaints. I still like don't really know how to utilize all the tech in this vehicle. Not that I really care. The only thing I actually ever use is like the Bluetooth audio. This, of course, it comes with the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, of course it has that. Another little interior thing that they can improve on is like get rid of this piano black plastic. I mean, that would be a nice little thing for them to get rid of, I feel like, because this really does show all the dust and all that. Just use like a silver, like, you know, aluminum looking trim, like kind of like the door handles here, you know, use a similar material for that, like all across here, because that would look pretty expensive and it won't actually collect all this dust like this material does. So that's another thing that they could improve upon. But hey, as a whole, like I mentioned, I do really enjoy myself inside of this cabin. They got this like 95% good, I think, and like I mentioned, it's a unique place to be, and it's just, it has like this nice simplistic luxury car feel to it that I really like. You know, you do have like this nice bezel-less mirror. You know, it's like the little things that really like add to the way that this thing feels. But I must say, as a whole though, those little issues aside, I do like this as a whole. You know, that's the final thing I really like about it. I like this thing as a package. It's a nice little thing that they've been able to come up here, you know, with the size, with the practicality, with the way that this thing drives, the interior quality as a whole, because I do really like this interior space as a whole. Everything for like, you know, what this is, I really do feel like this is something that a family could like lease and be super happy with, or just buy it straight up. I mean, like, you don't have to spec this thing up all the way to 47 grand. You can definitely get this for, you know, closer to like 38 grand or something like that. And I feel like this is a great little car. I mean, it's just a great city car. You can place this on the road really nicely. It's like the perfect size, and you can actually fit actual adults back there and plenty of things in the back. And I just really like smart cars like this, you know what I'm saying? Like the Kia Soul, you know, another example of a vehicle that's like really small, but nice and practical, lots of space in it. I love cars that are engineered really well like that. And I feel like this is one of those vehicles. And this is always going to be something that I would definitely recommend moving forward to, like a family or whatever. If they wanted something new, if they wanted something cool and unique, you know, it's a Volvo, so it's not as like brash or pretentious as like, you know, owning an Audi or like a Benz or something like that. So I like the subtleness of it, you know what I'm saying? And like, obviously, I'm sure this holds up to Volvo's true intentions of being a super safe car and whatnot. That's not an issue that I, you know, really see with this vehicle. So as a whole, I really like this car, and it's something I would definitely consider something to check out. So if there's any owners of this vehicle out there, please let me know your thoughts below. And with that, thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye.